G'day cocktail lovers, I hope you've been keeping well. Hope you're ready for another cocktail. Another anniversary coming up this weekend. It's actually the anniversary of the repeal of Prohibition in the United States. The great experiment that failed miserably and then was repeated again with various drugs with exactly the same result. Namely, people kept doing it and it just made criminals rich. And in the US at least, there seems to be some growing realization that prohibition of drugs is a pointless and bad thing as well. Who knows where we'll be in the future. But look, the idea of it being the anniversary of the repeal of Prohibition seems as good an excuse as any to make a Prohibition era cocktail. And there's a few that are quite famous. Although I think it's important to note that when we start talking about Prohibition era cocktails, in the vast majority of cases, these would not have been consumed in America during Prohibition, because you don't want to faff about when what you're doing is illegal. This one that I'm going to make, the Scofflaw, was actually invented in France during the Prohibition. I think it was by an American bartender who had moved to France, because it's not like bartenders were getting a lot of work in the US during Prohibition. So the Scofflaw, renowned Prohibition cocktail, but probably would not have actually been consumed in the US during Prohibition. It's interesting in looking this one up. The basic ingredients everyone agrees on, but the ratios change a lot. It's down to people's individual preferences. So I looked at a few different examples with different amounts of each of the ingredients, and I've come up with what I think will be a good balance for my tastes at least. But as I said, everyone has their own view on what the amounts of each should be. So if you prefer one of the ingredients over the others, by all means adjust to your tastes, because it seems like everyone else does. But now let's make the Scofflaw. First up, the Scofflaw predominantly features whiskey. You could do a bourbon or a rye whiskey. I'm actually going to make with this Australian rye whiskey from the Archie Rose distillery. Just won an award for being basically one of the best whiskies in Australia. And you can see I've had a few little cheeky tastes since I've got it, and it is rather good. I did a side-by-side taste test with an American rye, Rittenhouse rye, which is 100 proof. The Archie Rose is slightly lower than that. It's 46% alcohol as opposed to 50% alcohol. So that's 92 proof as opposed to 100 proof. And it's certainly less sharp on the tongue than the Rittenhouse rye is. It's got those traditional rye flavors, which are really nice, a little bit spicier than your average bourbon is. But this is a lot less sharp. It's smoother and rounder. I really enjoy it. And I'm going to start by putting in 2 ounces of the rye whiskey. Next up, we want vermouth. Now I'm going to use 1 ounce of this Australian vermouth from Maiden Eye. It's generally recommended to use a drier vermouth. This is Maiden Eye's Classic, which is a semi-dry vermouth. I have a slight sweet tooth. I don't actively dislike dry vermouth, but I tend to defer a little bit sweeter. So I'm going 1 ounce of vermouth. We're also going to add a little lemon juice. I've seen quite a bit of variation from 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce in different recipes. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to go 1/2 ounce of lemon juice. We're also going to add a touch of grenadine. It's a homemade grenadine. Homemade is best. It's dead easy. It's as easy as going out and buying pre-made grenadine. Just buy pomegranate juice or pomegranates if you're feeling particularly adventurous, and then you just make it with 50% pomegranate juice, 50% sugar, warm it over a stove so it's easier to dissolve the sugar, and then you have grenadine that tastes way better than most of the pre-bottled stuff. And that's the color grenadine's meant to be, not that fluorescent red some of the commercial products are. There was also a lot of difference in how much grenadine goes in. I'm going to put a bar spoon, about 5 mils of grenadine in the cocktail. The final touch, some orange bitters. Just a couple of dashes of orange bitters in our shaker. This is a shaken cocktail, so we add ice to our shaker, put it together, bang it in hard, and give it a good solid shake for about 10 seconds. Now we strain that cocktail into a chilled coupe. And there we have our Scofflaw. Now I'm going to let you in on a little behind the scenes secret. I usually record these 2 camera videos in a live stream on my Angry Aussie channel. Often on a Friday night I'll shoot the subsequent week's videos. And then I usually I usually make the cocktail a second time so I can have those sexy close-up slow-mo shots of the elements going into the mixing glass. And I often do that during the day following, and I often don't want to drink the cocktails in the middle of the day. And what I've taken to doing is, just for fun, milk clarifying the cocktails. I've got them there, I don't want to drink them now, I'll have them later, but rather than just sit it in the fridge, why not do a milk clarification and see what comes out? And then I thought, this literally just occurred to me this week, look, I could actually do the second cocktail before I do the 2 camera shooting. I could do the close-ups and I could milk clarify that and then have that ready for when I make this one, and I could compare them side by side, which would be a bit of fun. And that is what I have done. So this is the milk clarified version of the Scofflaw, and you can see it's a beautiful clear drink as opposed to the rather cloudy and opaque one that is what you would expect from a shaken cocktail with those elements in it. Milk clarifying it comes out really clear. If you haven't heard of the term or seen me do it before, the really quick version is you literally pour the contents of your cocktail into milk. You do the ratio about 4 parts your cocktail to 1 part milk, and it's important you add the cocktail to the milk. The milk doesn't have to be warmed up. Some guides say you have to warm it up. That isn't true. I always use cold milk, it always works. So, cocktail to the milk, stir it a little bit, and leave it for half an hour or so, and then strain it through a coffee filter or something similar, cheesecloth, something really easy. The curds do all the hard work, but they need to settle. So the first stuff that goes through actually goes through pretty fast and comes out cloudy. So you either have to do a little swapperoo and re-put that through, or put the entire cocktail through 2 or even 3 times for maximum clarity. This can take a while. You will be dedicating up to several hours of your time to this process, so I often make bigger batches than just 1 cocktail just to make it worth it. But this is the end result. This is the Scofflaw Prohibition era classic. I'm just going to give it a taste. Oh, I'm really glad I did the 2 ounces of the rye whiskey. Some of the recipes I saw had less of the whiskey and more of the vermouth, and in one recipe they were actual equal amounts. I think the classic recipe they were equal amounts. That's kind of boring. Having the whiskey as the hero is better, I think. That's got that nice full-bodied rye whiskey taste, and it's been tempered somewhat by the vermouth and the lemon juice, which is nice. Yeah, that's got a nice whiskey character. This is one's for whiskey lovers. But this one, the milk clarified one, obviously looks quite different. How different is the taste? Oh wow, it's so much lighter. Straight after drinking this, it almost doesn't taste like booze. It actually tastes like wine, which is not a huge surprise because you've got the vermouth in there. It's still got the whiskey character in there, but it's tamed it right down. It's not just light in colour and clarity, it's much lighter in flavour. And to my understanding, the clarification process does not lose much of the alcohol. You are adding whey from the milk, like the milk separates into curds and whey. The curds do the clarifying, but the whey is added to your cocktail and gives it a really nice silky feel. So it's overall slightly lower alcohol content, but if you drink the whole cocktail, I think the alcohol content is pretty close to the same. It's a little bit dangerous because it does not seem like it. But all in all, the Scofflaw might not be that widely served these days, but it is a classic. If you like your whiskey cocktails, that's a pretty good one. And if you want to enjoy a whiskey cocktail with a really tamed down whiskey flavour, milk clarification may be for you. Well, I'm actually really happy with how that experiment worked. Be interested if you've done similar experiments yourself. I hope you enjoyed that. And hey, I hope you come back and see some more and let me know. I may well do this, if not for every cocktail. I may do it a lot more often just because of the way I'm working making the videos. So you'll have to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It would be great if you did subscribe, hit the notification so you know when I'm uploading videos, and you can share the entire adventure, find out how different cocktails taste when they're clarified, mayhap. But here's me back on my double fisting bullshit. Can't stop me really. I seem to do this on the semi-regular, and maybe I'll be doing it even more often from now on. But I better go and finish these off. I'll leave you. I hope you stay well. I hope to see you again soon, but I'll say bye for now and cheers.